right, we're hot. Here we go.
Call the meeting to order, 6:32 p.m. Welcome to Silver Creek Elementary School for our August 8th regular school board meeting. At this time, if we could rise, Mr. Groen is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Dr. Balmer in the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thankful for all the wonderful things you've blessed us with as a school district. We are so excited about all the continuing, about this opportunity to continue to make decisions to move our district forward. We're thankful for a smooth start to the school year and just the joyous sight of seeing our students, our staff, and families back on campus. Help us stay focused on our purpose, which is educating the whole child and working diligently to ensure the success of all our students. We are blessed to have wonderful students, outstanding educators, and a very supportive community. Please continue to pour out your wisdom on each of us so we can continue to make the best decisions possible for our school district. Thank you for all that you've done, you are doing, and will do for our school district. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Roll call, Mr. Basham,
Here.
Ms. Bright,
Here.
Ms. Franklin,
Present.
Mr. Groen,
Here.
and I am present. We have quorum. Dr. Briggs, emergency additions and revisions to the agenda.
Yes, good evening. I do have three recommended revisions and additions to the agenda. Starting under number 7, consent agenda, under letter A, personnel, under certified appointments, I recommend adding letter D, Ashley Compton, homebound teacher, Silver Creek School Corporation, position control number 90004, effective August 8th, 2023. The second revision would be under number 2, classified, under number 3, leaves, letter A for Jessica Clark, that should read Silver Creek Primary School and not Silver Creek Elementary School. And then the last addition would be under number 10, our next meeting schedule. Recommend to add Monday, August 14th at 5:30 p.m., an executive session at central office. And that is it.
All right, you've heard the emergency additions and revisions to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Ms. Bright makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes from our regular school board minutes on July 25th and the work session minutes on July 25th. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Ms. Franklin makes a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next up, under recognition and presentation, we have a Dragons Pals program update.
Okay, just to get started here, as a reminder, last year I did an annual report regarding Dragon Pals. So this is my annual report, and it is regarding the 22-23 school year and how we serviced the Silver Creek schools. And then at the end, I'll get into what the 23-24 school year will look like. You can go to the next one. Thank you. Just a quick overview regarding the Silver Creek Dragons Foundation. We are a separate entity from this school district. We're a nonprofit. Our funding comes through corporate sponsors, donations, and grants. So you might say, what is Dragon Pals? The PALS, as you can see there, stands for Promoting Accelerated Learning in Students. It is a free tutoring service to Silver Creek students, Parents do not pay, and the school district also does not pay for these services. We provide them free to our community. And we offer support in math and reading. We also offer support in English as a second language, social emotional learning. We offer transportation for our after-school programming, professional development to Silver Creek teachers, and supplies to students and teachers. This just gets in a little bit more detailed what our wraparound services look like. Some of those I've already mentioned, but we also support the employability skills. We have school day interventionists. Some only know us as our after-school program, but we also offer daytime services in all of the buildings, or we did last year, in K through 12. We had reading and math interventionists along with ESL services in the buildings. However, since then, Silver Creek has picked up 5 of our employees and hired them as their own employees, which is kind of bittersweet. But they did pick up our ESL employees, and then our SEL and a couple of others. You can also see that we support college and career readiness through reading and writing in our secondary levels. And our after-school sessions are not homework help, so to speak. It's more targeting the gaps that students have due to the pandemic and really targeting those. And then again, offering transportation afterwards. So you might wonder how a student qualifies for our services. If they are below or approaching on a state standardized test score, as it states there, such as iLearn and such, then they would qualify. Also, if they're below grade level on NWEA testing or IXL, they would qualify. Another component they can qualify through is earning 65% or less on math or reading and classroom assessments such as tests and quizzes. A student does not have to qualify in all of those areas. It can just be in one. So after our first year of programming, I ran a survey with all of our parents, all the teachers and staff and central office and anyone involved in the program. So did an extensive survey and came up with some important changes to make. One was capping the group sizes. So primary and elementary took the feedback of capping, and we brought that down to 6 in each group. And then middle and high, we capped it at 8. We also changed the progress monitoring tool. It was IXL for K through 12, but to help with students not being over-tested, we scaled that back to using NWEA for certain grade levels that use that. And then we looked at the primary up to second grade, what tools they were using during the day, and implemented more what was going on in the students' school day so that they were not having to be assessed after school also. We also went to intentional lesson planning. So in addition to teachers receiving pay for the actual time they were tutoring, this 22-23 school year, we started paying a weekly amount for teachers to have time outside of having students to do lesson planning. All of those components were very well supported and will continue into the next school year. So our key resources and services for the 22-23 school year, keep in mind this is not for both years, this was only for last year. Our staffing, you can see the pay there and how many staff members we paid for, which was 73. And that was for a daytime interventionist, after school supports, mentors, teachers' aides, transportation, school nurse, building leaders, and such. Then you can see in the different areas where we spent $20,000 on supplies. I won't read those all off. I'll just let you breeze over that. Transportation, we added a bus to help with students getting back home quicker. Then for equipment, we have a cell phone in each building for our after-school program that we support. And then we put printers in all the buildings for our daytime service personnel. Logistically, they're not able to tap into printing on the school computers, so we got printers for all of our our daytime supports. We purchased laminators, monitors, and such. And all of these supplies and equipment stay within the school corporation. If a Silver Creek teacher does happen to leave, the supplies become property of the school. Then you'll see in professional development, I'll go into that a little bit more on one of the other slides, but we supported with building math minds. We also, any of our, what I'll call our non-Silver Creek employees that we hire through the foundation to service buildings during the day, they are required, or I require them to have Orton Gillingham training, which is science of reading training. As you know, the IDOE and legislation is really pushing for that also, for everyone to be trained in science of reading. So we make sure that the personnel that we're pushing in is highly qualified in that area before they're working with students. We have also sent Silver Creek teachers to WEDA conferences, and when we've done professional development during the day and taken teachers out of the classroom, we have paid for the substitutes also, so that that would not fall back on the school district. One of our highlights for professional development was bringing in guest speaker Graham Fletcher. He is a, if not nationally, world-known math specialist, and so we were very fortunate to bring him in. This was offered free to all primary and elementary teachers. You can go to the next slide. And as you can see here, this is some of the pictures taken during that professional development. We received a lot of great feedback from the teachers stating that it was one of the most enjoyable professional developments they have attended, and that they really garnered a lot in regards to teaching math conceptually, which is best practice. You will also see up there in the left-hand corner the Building Fact Fluency math kits. So those are about 500 apiece. We purchased 25 of those to spread them between the primary and elementary schools so that there would be at least one kit for every 2 teachers. It was also suggested by Graham Fletcher and the math specialist that we'll have in September coming into the secondary level. Both of them suggested purchasing the Building Thinking Classroom books for all of the teachers at Silver Creek. And so we did that. We have purchased 50 of those. Those have been given out to the elementary level. And then once our secondary level math specialist comes in for professional development, then we will hand out those books to those teachers at that time. But they've been purchased. We also purchased for the whole district, not just for our own programming, we purchased GIM Kit, which is I don't really know how to explain it, except that it's a very engaging tool. Students love it. If you've never seen it in action, I would suggest watching it in a classroom sometime. It's really fun watching students interact with it. That student that you struggle with getting engaged will always be engaged in this. It just seems to really capture everyone. And it's a great way for them to learn and retain information, but then also on the back end, without students even knowing it, it offers an assessment piece. So teachers are getting basically like information that you would get from giving a test or quiz. So they can see percentages and questions that were frequently answered incorrectly and things like that while the students are having a good time learning. Some of the other things we purchased were supplies through Hand to Mind. specifically with math, and then Brain Pop at the middle school level so that it could be used for social emotional learning, because we did have someone at the middle school last year that we paid for to be in the school buildings for social emotional learning. And even though we already purchased a program for preschool, or I'm sorry, for the primary and elementary to use, which was Second Steps, we wanted also a second level of support, so we purchased Brain Pop. Some other books that we put in the hands of teachers are the Jennifer Saravello books. I'll just let you look at that for a moment. All right. So every year we do progress monitoring throughout the school year to see where our students are and how they're growing. At the primary, you can see from our daytime and after-school support, the students that we serviced, 100% of those showed growth. In math, 79% showed growth. In the elementary, 76% showed growth in reading, and 65% of those that we were servicing showed growth in math. And then also at the elementary, the last month in May, we don't do any servicing in any of the buildings except for iRead at the elementary. And that is for any student who has not passed iRead. It's an intervention service. And then they retest. 46% of those that we serviced passed iRead after receiving services. At the middle school, 48% showed growth in reading. In math, 80% showed growth. And then at the high school, 33% showed growth in reading, and math, 43%. So for the upcoming school year, what we'll be offering, the biggest piece we'll be offering as far as professional development will be bringing in Robert Kaplinski. He is also nationally, if not worldwide, known as being a phenomenal math specialist. So he will be coming in, and we will be hosting him at Ivy Tech. We'll be paying for the teachers to have substitutes and paying for the event space, and then also for his services. He will come in for 2 days, and all the math teachers, admin, and anyone who supports in math in the secondary level will be able to attend. So programming for the 23-24 school year, at the primary and elementary building, we will use what's called regular Dragon Pals. We'll use the typical qualifications that you just saw for a student to be able to receive our services. That will be for after-school support. And then at the elementary and middle school buildings, we will use what will be called Dragon Pals iLearn, so that we're able to service students who did not pass iLearn. And then there's some other qualifying markers. But we were recently, over the summer, approved to be a learning partner with them. So it's going to allow us to keep a couple of our daytime people at the elementary school, and then also a couple of our employees at the middle school. We could also add on to that throughout the school year in both of those buildings. As far as daytime supports, we'll offer after-school support in those buildings, and then we'll also have transportation, and we'll be offering supplies, and again, I think I've already said it a few times, transportation. I believe that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Bride. Do we have any questions? I have a couple, if you don't mind. How many students are being serviced this year in both the iLearn and the Dragon Pals?
You mean for the 22-23 school year? It's 400 that we serviced.
Talking about for this coming up school year with the,
Yeah, we don't have those
You don't have
numbers
the
yet.
numbers?
No,
how many were served in the first year?
400. So both years, And I'm rounding, it was like 398 in one year and 402 in the next. But we typically run close to 400 students that we service.
Okay. So I know the numbers aren't there yet for this year, but do you project there are going to be less students taking
No.
advantage?
No, I don't.
Why?
Why would I? What would make it
Well, I
less?
would assume that they would be getting better and that the enrollment would be less.
Well,
Or maybe I don't understand
It would
what
be
it's
great
for.
if it worked that way. But so I'll go back to some statistics. Statistically, they have found that the pandemic has caused students to fall behind in such that it will take 3 to 5 years for them to catch up. And it's looking more like 5 years.
Then why is the state only offering a 2-year grant with an additional third year? Are they going to extend
So
it
when
for a
those-
fourth and fifth?
When those statistics came out, that's when legislation, because it comes from legislation first. This past legislation, they stated that they would extend supporting tutoring for the next 2 years. So originally they were looking at 2 years and then realized that that would not be enough.
So will we be able to sustain this program for a 5-year period?
Are you talking about from the time that it started? I hope so. I'm constantly looking for additional grants, donations, talking with corporate sponsors and such. So that would be the goal, yes. There will never not be a need for tutoring, just maybe not on this big of a scale, hopefully eventually, but yes. That is our goal, is to continue to service and to offer this free to the community for as long as they need it.
I don't know much about much, but is it also easier for school corporations to receive these type of grants that help with these after school, or are they not available at all?
To my understanding, it's a continuation of those who have received it, and I think
No, I understand. I know what you're going to say. That's not my question. My question is, we know that right now, we currently only have enough funds to go one more year.
right.
But if this is a 5-year deal, how do we implement that? Are there grants available out there for a school corporation to help with learning remediation?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any. I know this past summer, partnering with Indiana Learns, IDOE has put out extra funds for families to take advantage of to work with a qualified approved tutor such as Dragon Pals. But no, I'm not aware of any new grants because, like I said, my understanding is this is a continuation of the last 2 years, provided a source such as Dragon Pals still had leftover funds to spend. Rachel, you did not
That
get
is
any
correct.
new funds.
That's correct. It was only if community partners had leftover funds, could they use them in the year going forward or years going forward?
I understand. I understand that, but what I'm saying is, how do we continue this after this year if remediation is needed from our students?
Can I say something really quick? I think it would be very easily addressed because if there needed to be a transition where this program wanted to be taken over by the school corporation, then there would be probably an ability to do that.
That's my question is, how do you get funding
and
for
you
that?
would what you would do is you would reassess every year what the need is, and note too that prior to PAL's program coming to Silver Creek, we were the only school district in probably the southern Indiana area who did not have an after-school program, period. And so every school district that I'm aware of in this area, along with JCPS, it is common practice that these type of after-school programs exist. Now, I think what the answer to your question, Chris, is sustainability. Obviously, your goal is to was originally with this grant to promote accelerated learning in students who had the learning deficits due to COVID, right? However, I think that what you would want to see is you would want to monitor those kids who are, possibly falling in that category of learning loss from the pandemic. But the reality is that there are students in our corporation right now every single year that don't meet the standards where they need. So they need those interventions. What you would need to do if the funding ran out, you would need to explore other options through state funding or federal funding to be able to do that. These specific funds could not have come to the school.
I know.
So in the future, you could explore many options. If we had a grant specialist hired through the school or somebody designated within the school district who wanted to search out and find grants and locate their own funding and pushed funds into our school district versus pushing funds into an outside community support system, then absolutely the school district should set up their own program.
So I think you understand a little bit about what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is that if we're still going to have 400 kids each year that need remediation help, and you can't sustain additional grants from a community based organization, I would assume that could be more potential grants for a school corporation to
Not
receive
necessarily.
funds.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But I assume,
Yeah.
I know.
I would also say not necessarily.
But how many
most
additional grants have
program-
you been able to secure other than the state grant?
Yeah, I mean, there are others out there right now that I'm looking into. So yes, they're not secured. But just, I've done a lot of digging and reading and noticing, school districts versus community partners. And I can just tell you from looking out there that I see for this type of programming, those grants are geared towards more your community partners. When in the other school districts, most of their services are done through community partners.
And just to add two things
so-
to think about. I think that for sure, the positive is that we have this year for sure. Talk about possibly transitioning this to the school district would be something I think that should happen
Right.
at some point. Because I think that in the long run, if sustainability is always going to be a question and you have to operate year to year, at the end of the day, maybe the school district should invest some of their own funding. Maybe it comes out of our budget.
Sure, maybe it's a match grant or
yeah.
something along those lines, but if it's
Let me finish
needed.
really quick. I have one other point to make for you. The other option was that when this money came in, and these funds were available through IDOE, we had a couple different options. The Silver Creek Dragons Foundation is set up specifically only to support Silver Creek schools. It's unique in its own entity. If we would have used another community partner such as the Wilson Center, they would have taken a large amount of money from the state, divided it up, and Silver Creek School District would have only gotten probably about $20,000 period, which we spent $20,000 on pushing supplies into the school district. So by us having our own foundation and our own entity that supports strictly Silver Creek schools, we were able to receive a larger amount of money. And I mean, you can see in what she reported, 73 staff members, those are hands, eyes, ears around kids, constantly doing interventions. So the program itself is extremely positive. I don't think you could listen to anything that Rachel said and not see the positives and how it's impacting our school. If the only question is sustainability, I think that is a question that you just, middle of the year, semester break, we see where we're at, we look at the funds. IDOE is constantly coming down with new information and opportunities. And I think at the end of the day, that's really Dr. Briggs, kind of where you want to see this go. Like, we've now had an after-school program. We've now had daytime interventions. Maybe these are things that, the school district itself wants to take over and allocate and budget-wise. And maybe that would be a process that we looked into and compare the pros and the cons for sure. But I don't think that the question of sustainability should hinder the decisions with regards to the positive impacts that this program makes.
I don't, and that's not, I must be having a really hard time articulating my thoughts tonight because that's not what I mean at all. What I mean is if we've only got one more year
of dollars for this program. And there's 400 kids that need assistance every year. I know that both of you have talked about potentially bringing this into the school corporation when the grant was over, specifically Christy, of do we have funds to be able to do this? And I think the answer is no. Are there grants that are available to a school corporation to help us in the future bring this program in? We can't wait till next year to start looking for those. My thought
missed
process.
the deadline now to apply for any grants that would be effective for this year. I mean,
Correct.
I definitely think that's a
I'm
good
not talking
conversation
about
to
this year. I'm
have
talking
going
about
forward.
next.
I mean, I guess I'm missing an understanding what the issue is with regards to why, if the funds are available this year, what would be the cause of concern? You have a whole year to plan and proceed for next year if that was really what we wanted to do. And I would be very concerned that every other school district in our area has an after-school program and has funds available to support one. However, you're assuming now that we don't have the funds to do that. You said that. And so that would be kind of concerning to me, considering we're probably the fastest growing district here in this area. So I would be concerned that when we looked at our budget in the fall, if we truly wanted to develop an after-school program, that we would feel that we didn't have the money to do so. So that to me is concerning, that we would have.
But
a
our
statement
budget
like
for
that.
this year is already, I'm talking about for the future. Now,
Yeah, that would be a conversation
We
we
need
have
to
in the
start
fall.
planning now for any grant that might be available next year.
You would know timelines.
Or
better
a
on
budget
that
for next
with
year, correct?
regards to,
I know timelines
With
for
regards
those that
to-
are available to community partners.
yeah. I mean, you would have to look at the deadlines on when to apply. But yeah, if the school is interested in taking over the process and doing that going forth for the next year, when they want to develop a transitional plan to maintain whatever program that they want to do, by all means, I would say start appointing people, hire someone. We've talked about hiring someone to do grants and compliance specialists here to kind of source out and find those resources. But absolutely, if we want to bring somebody in or give that job duty to somebody, or Dr. Briggs or Dr. Balmer want to take on that responsibility of finding those funds, or when we talk about the budget in October and we want to allocate money specifically to continue a program like this, I think those conversations should absolutely happen. But I don't think that plan of transition should affect what is being offered now or what could be offered this year. But I mean, I definitely support the plan of transition
Well,
if that's what the district wants to do.
That presentation was about the benefits of the program overall. It's not about what's this year. I mean, we
She
have the
presented
funds for
what-
this year.
She presented.
Right.
The idea, I just wanted, my initial question was, how many students have we helped? I see a percentage about stuff going up.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that if we're remediating learning, that, maybe we're stair-stepping down the number of kids. And when you say that they'll always be for 5 years, it triggers something in my head to say, and, in my conversations with Christy about this program has been, well, we thought it was going to be over at the end of last year. And that now we have enough dollars in hand to be able to do it for another year on a limited approach. How are we going to help the 400 kids for the next 2, 3, 4 years, or through the rest of it?
I can only tell you from my standpoint that that's part of what I do, is constantly look for grants. There's 2 or 3 that you have to initially give preliminary interest that you're going to apply, that I have done that with. And then there's the whole application process, which is pretty lengthy. So I'm constantly looking for ways to continue funding this. But obviously I can't speak until those application processes have been complete. So
I think too, I mean, you don't have the same group of students that move through the school district year to year. So, your need may change. Every year you should do a needs assessment. What is the need? Get your feedback from your administrators and your building leaders. I mean, 73 staff members. There has been an enormous amount of support from within our current employees who work in the school, who are helping facilitate these interventions for our students. You have to think, every year that a new year starts, you have new students that come in, people that transfer in, kindergartners, first graders, these are all new students come in. So you may have a higher need with new enrollment based upon the students' needs. I mean, students that come in that have the needs of needing intervention, it hasn't just been because of the pandemic. You have students who just have learning loss. So this is, Scottsburg, New Albany, Floyd, Clarksville, JCPS, they don't have after school programs and didn't just because of the pandemic. They had it because their students had a need for the interventions in small group learning. And that is what this program in general facilitates. Yes, the funding was present due to the pandemic because it was very much parallel with like the ESSER funds. But you're always, I think, going to have a need to intervene when a student is not progressing the way that they should. Will a program that the school district decides to want to develop look like this? Maybe not. It may only be after school. You may not have daytime interventions as well. So, I mean, I think, what Rachel has done in leading this program is she started this program from the ground up, and all the logistics that came into play of it. Now, obviously, since that's been done, that would be very beneficial for the school district to just be able to take it over because it's a well-oiled machine. But if the school district wants to start from the ground up and facilitate their own programming, then I think by all means, somebody should step up and do that.
That's in essence, I think we need to start looking now, if we're going to have 400 or more kids per year that need academic help. I believe that if we could take the next year to start looking at how to bring that in-house. We have a director of two directors of curriculum, I think, that have experience with grants that might be able to help lead us in the right direction to make it sustainable for the future.
Just keep in mind, Chris, when you're talking about that, the ESSER funds came in. This is a prime example. You could have used every single bit of the ESSER funds to do a program like this. Okay? That's not what the school district chose to do. These funds specifically were only available to come in through a community partner. In the future, they may say, nope, we've got X number of dollars and only school districts can get it. In the future, they may say, hey, Dr. Briggs, you may be doing your research, have this program in mind you want to do, and you may find a grant that you can apply for, but that you may only be able to find a community partner to work with. And I think that if once you identify where your funding can come through, whether it's going to come through our budget or whether it's going to come from an outside source, if it comes from an outside source, you have to look at how you can obtain that money and who you can partner with to get it. And when you partner with somebody, are you going to partner with somebody who's going to split the funds so Silver Creek actually gets less money? So, as a whole, having the foundation be a nonprofit community support system strictly only for our school district has been an enormous support for our school district. Because I think we did originally explore running that money through the Wilson Center, and I think we were going to get $20,000, and we've gotten over close to $1 million. And $20,000 would have looked a lot different.
Rachel, with the past 2 years being K through 12 and 400 kids, we
Yes.
anticipate the K through 8 still doing 400 kids.
Yeah, I honestly don't see that dropping, especially after seeing the need from the iLearn scores. The high school, obviously we did run operations there, but that was where our smallest operational piece was. The larger amount of students was K through 8. So
As the kids get older, there's a stigmatism that comes with this,
Oh, no, I
right?
get that. Yeah, no, I was just making sure that I was understanding
It's
the same amount of numbers.
we try to make it as fun as we can and engaging as we can for the kids, but obviously, to some degree, as the kids get older and they understand what intervention is and they're being, pulled from a classroom or they're being asked to stay after school, that, kids are at that age in middle school and high school.
yeah, I understand.
The number and the willingness, because it's a voluntary program, there is less, I guess, attendance kind of as it goes up, and your core is in, primary and elementary, and then middle school, but then high school was a lower amount for sure.
something I should mention too is 4 times throughout the year, the buildings have team meetings. paid through Dragon Pals, where anyone who's working for Dragon Pals comes together, collaborates, looks at data, and checks to see, are there students that we can move out that have progressed far enough that they're on grade level? And if they are, then we move them out. That spot opens up and we move students in. So we're constantly gauging if we can move students out and move new ones in.
And then the criteria to qualify for the Indiana Learns, I think I'm straight on that. Is it the same criteria to qualify for Dragon Pals? Or?
No.
Okay, so it's less, so we could bring in more kids than what Indiana Learns would bring in?
Yeah, through Dragon Pals, we have more available. We're able to set parameters to be able to capture more students.
Gotcha. Good.
Whereas with the Indiana Learns,
I think that was on the
strictly
screen. I just
around.
didn't catch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's strictly around iLearn.
And then my last question, so just a ballpark figure moving forward, if we were to want to sustain the program as is, taking care of 400 kids a year, what is that estimated ballpark annual cost?
I think it depends on what you're wanting to do and what do you
Let's say we
look
wanted
like.
to replicate what you do, just to start
Well,
with that
would
as a
you be
model.
replicating the supplies that we purchase, the
Just
professional development?
Whatever you would
Just on
recommend,
average.
whatever you, if we wanted to try and replicate the best practice.
What I could go by then is I would say for the first year we spent near 500,000. Second year we spent near 500,000.
But I would be honest and tell you that a program with, different funding, like if we were using our own money, like the school district was going to say,
That's what I'm trying to get a
we're going
grasp
to
on,
allocate,
is what
we're
that
going to
might look
allocate,
like.
200,000 or whatever. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, do you ask any teacher, maybe ask, some of these principals, like they have people in their building through PALS who are polling students.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to support and pay for those positions to be paid? Maybe you would only want it to be an after school program. And, then you're only looking at, transportation. You could scale it back. You could make it look like
No, I get all
anything
that. I
you
was
wanted
just trying to start with a highest
big
cost
picture.
scenario.
Yeah.
Big picture,
replicating
500,000.
500,000.
Well, didn't you also spend a lot of money the first couple of years because you needed things that were not?
Both years needed the same support.
And if you had the money to replicate the first 2 years, it would be another 500
Yes.
this year. Yeah.
I do think that the cost would possibly could go lower because of the personnel that would not be required to run it.
Right.
What
Even
you
if
would
you
look
give
at,
or take 20%, that's
financial
400.
compliance is a huge thing. So all of our financial compliance is monitored by a CPA, where all of our bank accounts are. The branch managers and the office managers are on the compliance and monitor all that and monitor the foundation's overall accounts. So you have to pay those people as a separate entity to do
You're
their work.
saving admin costs.
So you're if the school took it over, maybe there would be somebody that you would pay a stipend to do it. You wouldn't necessarily have the cost of salary. So maybe it wouldn't be $500,000 to facilitate the actual.
Well, let's say it's
program.
half. Let's say it's 250,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks. That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions?
What was the amount of the original grant?
I'm not sure what you mean by the original grant.
Was it
We
$1
originally,
million? Was there, I'll just say
total is
Is there-
1.2 million.
1.2?
Yeah,
So there's monies left over?
yes.
And that's what we're using. That's this year, right?
Yeah, originally that money was just going to be forfeited, but since legislation passed continuance,
Rolling it.
yes.
And I mean, they have talked about doing this grant again, not necessarily under the terms of, it being a pandemic funded thing. So in reality, the money was funded through the federal government into state entities and governments. Some went through ESSER. They had extra money from that federal funds, and the ESSER funds were pushed into the schools directly. So they came up with this grant opportunity for community supporting partners to help students that were in need. And so that's the pathway of the funding and how it comes down.
Okay. Any other questions on the Dragon Pals presentation? All right. Susan, do we have any community input? All right. Operations update, Mr. Ballmer, I think this was tabled from the last meeting.
Yes, it is. Want to assure everybody that no financial report tonight, but with budget season right around the corner, your thirst for numbers will soon be quenched. So hold tight, coming soon. But no, definitely want to give some credit where credit is due. for our operations and a very smooth start to the year. I feel like this is probably the most challenging year we've ever had to have to start with under construction and those types of things. I don't know if it was over prepping. I contributed just a great staff overall. I want to start with just our building as far as our teachers and our admin who spend a lot of extra time coming in, prepping for the year, setting up their classrooms. So I definitely want to start there and give them credit. But on the operations side, I also want to just recognize Ms. Cahafer. You can't brag on her enough on all the extra time that went in to her adjusting traffic patterns, parking plans, sending out some very elaborate maps that I do think, while they were very detailed, I think it did pay off and helped us with the start. But she spent a lot of hours drafting those and making sure we were ready to go. So we sure appreciate all that. It was a great sight to see those buses rolling out every morning. We appreciate all the time and energy our bus drivers put into their pre-trips and prepping for the bus routes for those that start very smoothly. Some additional awesome stuff going on this summer with the transportation is our mechanic, Mr. Cawley. He was selected and did receive an $800 from Midwest Transit to attend professional development at University of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The training provided up-to-date information on strategies and technologies to ensure our bus fleet stays in tip-top shape. So we appreciate him wanting to continue to learn and keep our fleet up to par there. On food service, I want to recognize Mr. Sinclair and his team. They did a great job preparing. Again, a lot of planning, a lot of preparation to ensure we have all our food orders in place. We're ready to efficiently serve all students at all of our buildings. We appreciate the pleasant experience our food service provides to our students and staff. One thing, if you're ever around when they're serving food, it's amazing the touch points each person has. They talk to the students that goes through the line. It's not just about serving them great meals. They really build those relationships. It's very neat to watch, and they take pride in what they do. And just want to remind everyone, we did not increase any of our meal prices this year for 23-24, which is comes to just fiscal responsibility for our cafeteria fund. So we appreciate everybody looking at that and doing their part. That we didn't pass on any increase this year, which I'm sure families greatly appreciate. On technology side, we want to recognize Mr. Smith and his team for their hard work. Again, they've navigated through Chromebook replacements, interactive TV upgrades, which is still ongoing, technology needs for our temporary classrooms, and the plethora of needs at all the buildings to ensure everything is running smoothly on the technology side. That ticket system grows really quick when everybody gets back in. So, but they respond well for their staff. On human resources, I want to thank Ms. Miller and the HR department. They stay very busy managing all of our staffing changes for the school year. So we appreciate all the onboarding and exit interviews that have taken place this summer. HR worked diligently to get our employees set up, especially all the new employees, so they have all the systems in place so they can hit that ground running. We do have some new faces on our campus, and one thing that's been refreshing is to hear from those individuals on how they appreciate the warm welcome they received at Silver Creek. It's not surprising. I think there's a reason they call us the Dragon family. On facilities, Mr. Poole and his team have done a marvelous job making sure our buildings are ready to welcome back our students and staff. During a normal year, this is an enormous challenge, but adding renovations and additions on top of it makes it even more difficult. We can't brag on our site managers, our operations staff, everyone on their hard work this summer. And from Mr. Poole's leadership, we ask that people would thank that operations staff when they see them in the buildings. I mean, you walk in the buildings, it's evident that they take pride in what they do every day. It really is. And it's really neat for them to be welcomed back to a building that has been shined up and looked great for their warm welcome for them. A couple construction updates. Pretty awesome that official practices has begun on our brand new football, soccer, and track stadium. It's been refreshing to see our Dragons utilizing that new facility and reunite with the why we took on these projects in the first place. And that's to see them out there using it. It's been great. A reminder that the new stadium is not open to the public quite yet. Very shortly, we're excited about hosting our first soccer scrimmage August 10th and then an upcoming football game against Charlestown on August 18th. The high school renovations and additions are on target. And our general contractors and construction managers have done a great job separating the construction zone and the construction zone and the instructional areas. Our modular classrooms are up and running. We want to thank our teaching staff, specifically assigned to those, for the additional efforts it took for prepping those learning spaces. It was some extra work. They did it with a smile on their face. We appreciate that, and they've made the transition smooth. Safety measures were vetted as we entered the school year into construction, and we do have a plan in place. We want to thank our families for their patience as everyone's become familiar with the traffic patterns. It's a very exciting time and a wonderful sight to see all the hard work and preparation pay off and seeing the Dragon family work together as we navigate through improving our facilities. And just a reminder, construction progress can always be found on our website. There's a slideshow on each project, and we do notify on Facebook when those are updated. And that is it for the operation of state. Again, I cannot thank our staff as a whole for everything they did to prep for this school year. I was beyond nervous, to be honest with you. There's a lot of moving parts, especially with construction, and it was a great sight to see. So well done to everyone.
Yeah, to add on to that, I was on campus the first week and I noticed our directors and admin out helping with the traffic during probably the hottest part of August. So I was very appreciative to see that because I know it was a crazy time with it being the first week of school.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Balmer on operations? Dr. Briggs, consent agenda?
Yes, under number 7, consent agenda, letter A, personnel. Under certified appointments, we have letters A through D. Under number 2, leaves, we have letter A. Under classified, number 1, appointments, letters A through E. Number 2, resignations, A and B. Number 3, leaves, A and B. And under letter B, other, we have requests for approval, number 1. And under number 1, items 1 through 5. And then numbers 2 through 9. And that is it for the consent agenda.
All right. Any questions on the consent agenda?
Yeah, I have questions in regards to the approval of the bus auctions. I mean, to me, those numbers seemed really low and the pool of people who,
This is going to be a discussion. Can we go ahead and get a motion to approve it?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, are we going to move it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I so move.
Do we have a second? Mr. Basham seconds. Discussion. Go ahead, Rachel. Sorry.
Yeah, so my concern is that the pool of people that were, bidding on these was very small, very local, and the amounts were super low. I'm just, these are buses we were talking about. I just would think that they would go for more than like 200. So are we really exploring every avenue we can to auction off obsolete buses?
Yeah, I'll defer to Dr. Balmer. He and I had a very similar conversation. So, Todd.
Yeah, a few things. One, we did follow guidelines, which is to post those in the newspapers twice, and that is where we generally, anything we auction, that is generally where we get our most traffic for our interest, is because they've actually, programs out there and companies use programs to search those ads to pick up on anything that may be of interest to them. In past, when we tried to auction off, this is actually a pretty good turnout based on some of the past. So, and then if you look at the condition of the buses that they're in, and then what it would cost if we did not get any bids, it would cost us the amount of money it costs to prep them for scrapping, you would actually lose money to scrap them. Moving forward, we have talked about, or I've put some guidelines in place where we're going to go ahead and make sure they're on our website. We'll post them on our Facebook. We're also, it's been suggested to try to maybe look at, I think, some other districts leverage some auction sites to see if we couldn't generate some more there. So we do have some plans in place if we go down this road again the next time that.
Are these running and workable buses?
They're like the bottoms are the rusted out, like the floorboards and stuff, like for the most part.
We
like,
drove them last year.
So
Okay, we
can they
move
be
this to
sold outright or do they have to be auctioned?
Based on when you declare something surplus, you can bid them out. You can get bids on them and take the sealed bids, which we publish it and take sealed bids. We can't sell them outright due to the way our policy is written. But I mean, that's you should take, if you're going to make it surplus. If it's no value, you can dispose. If there is value, you feel like there is value, you can go through a sealed bid where you publish it in the paper.
I just know last year, this kind of came up with the IT when we had 2,000 desktops.
I feel like if
And-
we don't know about it, then nobody knows about it.
Right,
And I mean, if a bus is available for $200,
Figure eight racing.
yeah, I mean, I mean, if these are workable buses, we need to get more than
You can turn them
$200.
into homes.
just
I
think-
We
mean,
got an after-school program, it sounds like we want to start up.
I
so-
don't disagree that you followed,
I mean-
you followed the guidelines that we have to go through. I know that. I get it.
But I don't know how we say we had good turnout when the only 4 bidders were transportation department employees.
Yeah.
You know, like Scott mentioned, there's auction houses out there. I know, for example, the other day on one of the auction sites, the New Albany was auctioning off trucks and different, trailers and whatnot. I just think there's more. I think the perception is bad, and I'm not saying anything was done wrong. I think the perception is bad when you put out that somebody's buying a truck for a couple of $100 and a trailer for a couple of $100 and some school buses for, I think the highest thing we got was $350 or whatever it is.
650, yeah.
Okay, so that was for the good one, but that type of equipment, but the only people that knew about it, or that, I'm not saying that the only people that knew about it, but the only bidders were transportation.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So are we,
and I know you're saying, going forward, we'll look at things differently, but I honestly
Yeah,
have a problem with approving these.
Well, if the board, the board is fully, if we think we can do better, I have no issue whatsoever. We simply just, you are within your rights to pull this out, reject the bids. We need to reject them. That would need to be rejected, and then we can look at exploring the.
I think what we need to do is move
Move it
2
to discussion.
through 8 on B, request for approval to discussion action items, right?
Three.
Yes.
Not 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2, 3.
Approval of bus 339 down.
I'll make that motion to move that to discussion.
Got it. 3 through 8.
I second.
Move that to action
Hold
number
on.
3.
And y'all click on the draw. 3 through 8, 2. All right. Christie, you made the motion? Or?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's just 5-0. We can finish that in discussion action items. So other than that, any other discussion on the consent agenda?
No.
Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion approved. All right, discussion action items. B, request to approve Brady French as a Silver Creek High School special education teacher, position control number 50060, with an effective date of July 25th of 2023. Do we have a motion to bring that to the floor?
I'll so move.
Mr. Franklin, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen, seconds. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. As mentioned to you guys previously before, with the absence and vote, we will vote on the Dragon Pals MOU via roll call. Do we have a motion to bring that to the floor? I'll make the motion. We have a second. No second, motion dies.
I'll second it, Chris.
Okay, Mr. Basham seconds. Any discussion?
I would like to see what we discussed, moving this program in the future under the direction of the central office.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Basham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Bright?
Abstain.
Ms. Franklin?
Abstain.
Mr. Groen?
Nay.
And I vote aye for the betterment of the kids and the kids that it serves. But I will agree with Mr. Basham. I think that we need to move this towards the school corporation. All right. Next up, we have our consent agenda items 3 through 8 that were moved to discussion action items. We have a motion to bring that to the floor again.
So moved.
Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. And any other discussion?
Just that we should reject the bids. That's my thought.
I think we should explore some other options within our capacity to do so. I never saw them on the corporation site, so maybe
They
we
weren't, they were just in the paper.
yeah, so maybe we could just do a little bit broader of a option for auctioning or explore some options and just see so that we can maximize potential revenue coming back in off of these items.
Great. So let's remember that when we vote for this, it's going to be the approval of the sale.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The motion is, this is going to be for the approval of the sale of these.
Okay.
Okay?
I understand.
All right, do we need roll call vote or can we vote? Would you prefer a roll call to make a explanation or anything?
No.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails 1-4. All right, next up, we have our, see, Ms. Campbell or Mr. Adams here? Ms. Campbell, you're up first.
Good. Okay. All right. Good evening. We've had a great start at Silver Creek Primary to the beginning of our year. We welcomed 235 new kindergartners this year. We are still adding some friends each day, 2 more coming tomorrow. Our first grade students have transitioned beautifully back into the classroom. This time of year, we spend most of our time on procedures and modeling and teaching and reteaching our little friends how to be in the school building. Or how to just be little humans in general. And so it's a good time, but it's definitely all hands on deck. So we want to make sure and thank everyone, including Dr. Briggs and Dr. Swearens that came and helped us with arrival and dismissal each day. It got a little better, right, Dr. Swearens? And so our goal is to get every kid home safely every day, which is a feat at the primary, and we've done it. So we take that as a win. Also wanted to just share some exciting news. Kim Mobley last spring wrote a grant with the Louisville Science Center on behalf of SCP, and we found out 2 weeks ago that we received that. We were awarded that grant. So we are going to have a STEAM cart at Silver Creek Primary. So it's similar to STEM, but the A in there stands for art. So it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So this is genuinely a cart full of pre-made lesson plans and activities based on state standards for K and 1. And we will be housing it in our building. Our teachers can check it out and use it in their classrooms. We have a training for our building coming up the first week of September, and then the cart arrives middle of September. So we're really excited about that. Kim Mobley is also a teacher that's going to be working on the STEM grant for the district. And so we wanted to test this out and see how it was. So hopefully we can bring some good information to that committee as well. And so we'll keep you posted. But it's our first adventure with a STEAM cart. So I think our kids are going to love it. And a huge thank you to Kim for being a part of that. And last but not least, tomorrow is Picture Day. Picture Day in kindergarten is really fun. So it's always one of our favorite days of the year. So we'll make sure our kids are ready to smile pretty tomorrow. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Ms. Myers?
Good evening. All right. We also at the elementary school had a great start to the year. We've got all of our kids in and we got them home safely every day without any major trauma or feats like that we had to get over. So they did a great job. Thank you to our transportation director and transportation department who've done an excellent job this year. Also, I wanted to welcome some of our new staff to Silver Creek Elementary. So we wanted to welcome Haley Sims, who's came to us for special education, Helen Jeffries, Laura Mills, and Kylie Minnie in third grade, and Candace Kalin in fifth grade. And then we have Jenny McKim, who's joining our staff to help us with SEL, who was a Dragon Pals employee. We're excited to have her. We'd also like to welcome some of our new instructional assistants. We are finally full staffed and we're excited about that. But Jordan Linden, Brendan Noggle, Jasmine Malden, and Virginia Guerrero, welcome to the Silver Creek Dragon family. We have sports going on right now for the fall sports. We've got cross country. Our kiddos, third, fourth, and fifth grade can run for cross country on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have tennis, I believe, going on, and volleyball is going on right now. So we've got lots of fun teams and athletics going on at the elementary school. Last Wednesday, staff had our first state safety meeting, and we went over our safety protocols, our SRP, discussed with our new staff different scenarios and things that happen. And then this Wednesday, we are excited to start looking at some data, talking about our instructional practices and our PLC norms. So that'll be tomorrow. So, and our picture day was last Friday. So we finished that as well. So, all right. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you. Ms. Nunn? Thanks, Andy.
Good evening. Always fun at the middle school. Again, I'd like to thank our custodial staff for doing such a great job getting everything ready to go. Our teachers and staff for making their rooms inviting to all of our students. It looked wonderful in the middle school. And again, Dr. Ballmer, Dr. Swearens, in middle school, we introduced the snake when it comes to parking and picking up your children. So not only do parents have to understand straight lines, they have to understand weaving in and out of parked cars. So thank you for everybody for their patience. And they got it down very quickly, but it was very hot out there. I agree. And again, we had our open house for our families to come out and visit the teachers. We were very excited that we had a full house. We had many families that came out last Thursday night. We also had on the 4th, we had a lot of new families, so they were able to open up their lockers, practice that for the first time, put some things away with all of our sixth graders coming out. So again, all the families, thank you for coming out and supporting students learning the first few days of middle school. We're going to have our first dance, our welcome back to school dance this Friday. It's going to be a country theme. So if you are watching online and you're not quite sure, you can check out on our afternoon announcements how to get a ticket, the times for the dance, and again, how we are going to utilize that snake to pick students up after the dance. We also have our first fall kickoff for our sports season this Thursday. So we want to wish all of our fall sports good luck for this fall season. We've also had our first Dragon Pride drawing for the year. So in middle school, when students are caught displaying persistent respectfulness, initiative, dependability, and or efficiency, we issue them a ticket. They put their name on the ticket and they feed the dragon. On Mondays, we pull the tickets out of the dragon and they can come down to get some Silver Creek merchandise. So that's always fun to do. We want to welcome Laura Zoller, our new U.S. history teacher. She has done a fabulous job fitting in and doing a great job with our students. And we've had Ted, our therapy dog, visit a first couple of times. He hasn't stayed a whole day yet, but he's come to visit, and he has fallen in love with Silver Creek Middle School. So we are absolutely so thankful that he's been able to be there, and he's enjoyed lots of attention and being the star of the show. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Dr. Wood?
We also, like all of the rest of the schools, we had picture day at the high school today, and it just really wasn't that big a deal. I mean, high school, just picture day is just not that big a deal in high school. Very large freshman class, relatively 250 students there. They have adapted very, very well. All of them have. I think the sophomores probably had the biggest letdown because here they find their way around the school. They kind of know where they're going, and then we shut down all the hallways. But they have done a very good job doing that. We have installed a roundabout in one of the major hallways there that it took them about a period or two, and that was about it. They figured it out. We've had orientations for all grades. We had 2 sessions for freshmen and sophomores and one for the juniors and seniors, essentially to talk about behavioral expectations, how to treat one another, what services we provide, working on ways to get the names of support staff out there to them so they can get what it is that they need. We had seniors met today to go over graduation. Yes, graduation materials with Jostens. We've had the Ozone met last week, so they're getting ready for the scrimmage as well as the first game. I hear against Charlestown. I hear that's really a big deal, so we need to get going on that. And then also we're going to have to get used to some traffic issues that we're probably going to encounter come in 2 weeks, 1 week from Friday. Because we're still working through how that is all going to work. But we're really excited because I think people are pumped up to see that new facility. So they're going to get a taste of, I guess, what the rest of the school is going to look like in a couple of years. Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Ray?
Good evening. I just want to give a shout out to the entire health team who worked incredibly hard preparing for and kicking off the start of school, from attending back to school nights, individual health plans being implemented, and ensuring all our health needs are communicated to staff as needed, all to ensure our dragons are healthy and safe. So I really want to thank them for their hard work. We're also very pleased to welcome new registered nurse Amber Harrison to Silver Creek Elementary School. And we are already preparing to send out notices next week to any student who is non-compliant on immunizations. So if you receive notice, please make that a high priority. Thank you.
Dr. Swearens?
Good evening. So I have had the privilege of the last month of really being able to have time to dig in to learn about all of the systems here at Silver Creek. I've attended many online trainings in the area of title, ELL, high ability, just to make sure that I can be a strong support to our programs here. I do want to say last week I was able to go into the primary building and the elementary building to start doing those weekly walkthroughs. And I know Mrs. Abby was talking about those procedures and how important those procedures are in the primary building, especially in elementary. But I will also say not only were they teaching procedures, but there was meaningful instruction going on in the buildings as well. So I do definitely want to give a shout out to our building administrators, your leadership team, your teachers, your support staff for everything you all did to make sure that our school year started off on a positive note. So I definitely appreciate all that you guys have done. Do you have any questions for me?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the warm welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Dr. Waters?
Thank you for letting me talk. Just as Dr. Swearens has said, it's been a great start to the school year. As far as a position at central office, this has been wonderful for me. Everybody's been so welcoming, so kind, extremely helpful. Not only would I thank the different buildings as well as the administrators and staff there, but also the central office staff. The ladies in the office have been a huge, tremendous help, as well as the gentlemen in the office. I've been digging into all things assessments, trying to really learn my role as far as that goes. You will soon see some historical data so that you can see what we've been digging into. I've shared that with the building, so we'll be sharing that with you all as well very soon. And just trying to understand exactly some other roles that I need to assume. I've gotten into the middle school, got to see a collaboration, so that was really cool to see their first collaboration. Also got into the high school and talked about a possible grant that we're looking at applying for at the high school, but I'm really excited to be getting into those buildings as well. Do you have any questions for me?
No, thank you.
Thanks, Jessica.
Dr. Briggs.
Yeah, just welcome back to everyone, our students, our staff. It's been a great start, as Dr. Balmer mentioned. Just giving great thanks to everyone involved to make it a smooth start. I joked originally that said after the first day we'd have to regroup our plans that night in terms of traffic flow, and I stand corrected. They seem to have done a great job with that. So thank you to everyone. Want to welcome on board our primary sponsor for our new football stadium and baseball and softball fields, Hunter Station Pizza Company. Chris and Nick have been great partners of ours, great supporters of our students and our staff, and looking forward to welcoming everyone to Hunter Station Pizza Stadium as we kick off with soccer this Saturday, and then soccer again on Wednesday, and then football a week from Friday. And also I'll take, finally, just want to thank our board. You know, guys, we have a very supportive board, and for many years they've been dedicated to bringing these things to fruition. So thanks to the board, thanks to all of our taxpayers. What you'll see at Hunter Station Pizza Stadium is just the results of a lot of collaboration, a lot of planning, and a lot of hard work. And as you've noticed, as you drive around this campus, the high school will soon look just like our new outdoor facility. So thank you, guys. That's it.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll just reiterate again, thanks to everyone for all their hard work. You just can't say it enough, but very happy for a smooth start. As always, just thankful to be a Dragon and be a part of this great team. We're not perfect, but I think everybody works really hard to do the best they can to make the right decisions for the right reasons. So I'm thankful to be a part of this team. We've got a lot of new members, and I think they've all really shown up and are already pulling their weight, and it's really nice to see that. Again, very excited about our games coming up in our new stadium. I think the public's going to love what all the hard work and everything that's went into it, but I think it's going to pay off when we see those first games take place. So very excited about that. Thanks for everyone for making that come to fruition.
Mr. Basham?
I'd just like to thank all the principals and staffs, because I was like a lot of people, I was worried about our traffic flow, and so far no issues that bite us in the butt. So thank you all for doing a great job.
I'd just say I'm thankful for the reports from our directors and our admin. It's always really exciting to hear what's going on in your buildings. It's also exciting to see all the construction. I never thought I'd say I was glad to see a big hole in the side of the high school, but every time I see it, it just makes me extremely happy, because it's been a long time coming. And other than that, I hope we have a wonderful school year.
Ms. Franklin?
The only thing I wanted to follow up on is I just wanted to thank Joe and Chris for their support of the PALS program. And Chris, when you were asking your questions, I think one of the things that is, what you were saying and what I was saying is that kind of aligns, in that at the end of the day, Silver Creek School Corporation should have its own program. And I think that tonight you guys did what was in the best interest of the students, since the funding is there. I think Rachel's done an amazing job. Had somebody text me during this meeting and say, how could anybody listen to that presentation and think that it's not in the best interest of students for it to continue? And so I think both of us would say that we would work as much as we can to help transition this or whatever, if we feel that it's able and the funds are there and it to support whatever program. Because at the end of the day, if the school district can support it for the next 50 years, then that's what we want. We want to be comparable to other districts, and other districts have that type of programming. So I'm really appreciative of that support. I'm looking forward to what it can do again this year, and just everybody that's in the buildings. The people that are in our buildings right now, our principals have spent enormous amount of time on this, our building leaders, our staff, and also our contracted employees through the PALS program. So I am just thankful for that, and I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that with you, Chris, and you guys, that we should start having conversations as soon as possible as to what you guys would want this to look like going forward.
Mr. Grum?
Good.
All right. One thing I'll say, I want to welcome everybody back. I know, maybe it's not necessarily students and everybody back to get in school, but it was a relief after that first week of seeing how everything went. Thing that comes to my mind is resilient. Our students and our staff members are resilient because here we thought we were going to have all these problems and we were going to have all these issues, and I've heard nothing but positive around the construction and the traffic. Now, I mean, you're gonna have some complaints, but just inside the building about how positive it is. Welcome all our new employees. Welcome to Silver Creek School Corporation. I think that you'll find that you'll want to be here for a long time. And then lastly, I'd like to invite everybody out to Hunter Station Pizza Stadium for a soccer match on Saturday. Should be entertaining. So. Other than that, we have our next meeting, August 22nd, regular scheduled board meeting, August 22nd of 2023 here at the elementary school with an executive session to follow. And then September 12th, 2023 here at the GPR. I'm assuming that's not really 6:35. Well, yeah, it is because we have the 6:30. And then the newly added August 14th, next Monday, executive session, 5:30 at central office. And with that being said, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
Ms. Bright makes a motion, a second. Chris seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Meeting adjourned.